What's up, everybody? Hey, Tom Laird here, host of the Advice from a Call Center Geek podcast and founder of Expivia. For exceptional contact center outsourcing, trust Expivia. We're fully AI-driven, as all of you know, and can handle voice, email, chat, and all of your digital channels. Our 600-seat USA contact center is expert in healthcare, financial services, insurance, tech support, retail, and more. Experts on the NICE CX1 platform, we ensure seamless customer experiences. DM me or visit expiviausa.com for more.
This is Advice from a Call Center Geek, a weekly podcast with a focus on all things call center. We'll cover it all from call center operations, hiring, culture, technology, and education. We're here to give you actionable items to improve the quality of yours and your customers' experience. This is an evolving industry with creative minds and ambitious people like this guy. Not only is his passion call center operations, but he's our host. He's the CEO of Expivia Interaction Marketing Group and the Call Center Geek himself, Tom Laird.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Advice from a Call Center Geek, the call center and contact center podcast, where we try to give you some actionable items that you can take back into your contact center, improve the overall quality, improve your customer experience, hopefully improve your agent engagement as well. How is everybody doing? It's been a little bit since we've talked. We've been super slammed here. And I want to get into some of the things that we're doing because as a call center geek or nerd, if you're listening to this, I think it's going to be really interesting to see some of the things that we've gotten into really even over the past 2 to 3 weeks. That started really last year with COVID, but this isn't a COVID episode, but this is just some really cool call center things that we're doing. But a little bit different episode today. Well, I want to get into some of that stuff that I just kind of talked about. I'm going to call this episode Audience Ask. Right? We've done, I think, a really good job of providing as much content as we can over the last really 2.5 years, from blog posts to this podcast, of trying to help, right? Topics have come into us from you guys that have been listening, and we've tried to execute and give you guys as much information as we possibly can to help everyone from a newer call center supervisor or management person to a rep to somebody who's an executive or maybe taking over a contact center for your company that maybe doesn't have a lot of experience with it. And that's really why we started this. They're really just to try to be a helpful free resource to everybody that's out there. So I want to expand upon that. I think now's the time to do this now that we have an audience that is just amazing, right? So, we're almost at 80 to 85,000 downloads of the podcast. Every single episode that we put out is getting about anywhere between 1,000 to 2,000 downloads, right? So there's been a real interest and hopefully we have been able to help. And some of the feedback that I've gotten has been, it's been the driving force for us to continue this. So I want to take it to the next level. In 2021, I want to engage you guys more, not just with me, but with all of you within kind of this little small community that, for us, I guess, has grown beyond our wildest dreams. But to try to, not just use me as a resource, but to use all of us as resources to try to help one another and to try to grow a community here. So every single episode, I kind of, brush over some of our social kind of assets and some of the things that we've been trying to do, but I've never really focused on them. And that's something I really would like to do now that we have, such a larger following than even we had last year, pre-COVID. I'm going to call this, again, this episode is Audience Ask, and I'm going to throw a couple things out at you. I'm going to create a post that basically is just going to be like, hey, this is Audience Ask. Love to hear your feedback. Just something simple like that. And it's going to be on the Advice from a Call Center Geek community page. So it's kind of confusing. We have the regular Advice from a Call Center Geek Facebook page, and then we also have the community page. So the Facebook page is kind of just another sounding board for the podcast where I'm throwing, posts out and some things for you guys to look at. But the community, I want to be more, right? I want it to be a place where, if you have questions, if you're not sure about how to do something, that you can reach out to a group of individuals that are here to help, almost like a Reddit for call centers, right? So what I'd love to do is to have each of you, if you can go on the community, there's a spot that you can introduce yourself, right? So you can introduce yourself there, but anything that's on the top of your mind, anything that you have a question about, anything that you'd like to ask me, Obviously, I'm more than happy to answer that, but I think it would be more worthwhile because all of us have such expertise in certain areas, whether it's workforce management, whether it's customer engagement, technology, any of the kind of the channels that we kind of focus on here on the podcast. A lot of you have a ton of experience that I know could help a lot of people. So I'd love to see more of you, if possible, right to today, right after this podcast, or if you're at your computer or on your phone doing this, go to the Facebook Advice from a Call Center Geek Facebook community and introduce yourself. Post some questions. Let's get some actual feedback going back and forth, because I think we could make that into something that's really powerful and really strong. And again, it doesn't cost anything. I'm not getting anything out of it, but just a place that maybe even I can post some questions, because I'm definitely not an expert in all of this. And there's a lot of you who have a lot of really good expertise. So one of the things I would like some feedback on the community, again, being that this is an audience ask episode, is on the community page. Again, I'll have a post there that I'd love to hear some feedback on some of the things that you'd like us to do more. And I've done this and probably not followed up as much as I possibly could have. So I want to be a better resource and a better advocate for some of the things that you guys find interesting and would like. I don't want to do things just to do it. I want to do things that are going to add value to you guys. So number one, we are thinking about doing some type of associate or management training courses. I don't know if I know there's other resources out there for that, but if you think that is something that, number one, you would find interesting in, I mean, we have a full management trainee program here at Expivia. I don't want to make it Expivia specific. I want to make it, kind of a more general leadership management, things that you need to be listening to, how to do QA, how to monitor properly, and make those type of resources. I don't know if that would be a pay service. I don't know if that would be a free service. Let me know. I mean, if you'd be interested in paying for something like that, if you think, no, Tom, let's just do something a little bit more generic, but we could make it free, I'm fine with that. It's just going to take, we've been looking at it, it's going to take a lot of time and effort to do it right. I'm not going to put something out there, again, that's not going to add value. That's just something to check the block to say we did it. And I'd also love to have some of you maybe involved with that. So again, throw some suggestions on that on the community page that I'm going to kind of create for again, the audience ask kind of episode. The second thing is I have not explored it enough or done one yet, but Advice from a Call Center Geek and myself, we do have a Clubhouse account. I would like to start to have a community in Clubhouse. And for those of you who don't know what Clubhouse is a social media app, relatively new. It's by invite only right now, but I think if there's enough of us, we can get as many people in as we need. And basically, it's a chat group that is all audio, right? So, we could do things like, hey, on Thursday at 3:00 Eastern time, we're going to do a Clubhouse chat on agent engagement. And all you guys can pile in, I don't say pile in, but come onto the Clubhouse app, come into our room, and maybe there'll be just me, maybe there'll be me and two or three of you guys and a bunch of other people, right? And it's kind of like an audio webinar where we can just have a discussion, and then you can raise your hand and ask questions. And I think it could be a really cool way to interact, and basically making a podcast kind of interactive. Right. So instead of me just kind of talking to you guys, we can really get deep into specific questions and things that you guys may have. I'm really interested in doing something like that, but I just don't want to do a Clubhouse episode and have, 3 people there. So if that is something that you would be interested in, if you're not a member yet or would like to join, we can even start a community post on that, right? To see, because every time you join, I think you get two invites. Right. So if I invite somebody, then they get 2 invites, that they can invite 2 more people. And then we can kind of get our group all involved in it. And then you guys can do other Clubhouse episodes too. Right. If somebody has a ton of knowledge in workforce management, maybe we just do one on that. I think that's a tool that we need to start to utilize as a community, as a group here in 2021. The third thing, we've been thinking about doing is more webinars, right, on specific topics. again, I think the webinar might be getting a little old school, right? When we have things like Clubhouse where we could be more interactive. But, I can create more content with it and create some decks and things that you guys can take home with it. Let me know if that's something that would be interested. And the other thing that I want to really expand and blow up that I've not done a very good job with just because I'm trying to really figure out how to use it and what content you guys want is our SMS texting community. So again, if you are not a member of the SMS texting community, I'm going to ask you to right now just let's text audience ask, just so I know that it came from this episode. And the number is 814-247-0366. So if all you need to do is text audience ask to 814-247-0366, it'll get you signed up for our SMS texting community. And I'm going to try to really revamp that and provide more, I guess, exclusive content, because if you're going to take the time to join a texting community, you're really into this. And if you're going to take that time, I deserve to provide you with the proper content that I think you would deserve. Again, I'm not going to slam your inbox with sales or anything like that. You guys know how I am, right? It's all user value content. I'm trying to figure out the right algorithm, whether it's 2 to 3 times a week. I'll text you guys something, throw out some tidbits, send you a video. I think that could be something that's pretty worthwhile and something I definitely want to expand. Now, there's over 150 of you right now that are part of that community, but if we can get that to a couple hundred people, I think it could be something that, again, could add a ton of value to a lot of you. The last thing that I'm going to ask is to continue to grow the podcast. I would love to have more reviews, especially on iTunes, right? So again, this is, I guess, me, if I've added any value to you guys whatsoever, if I've done anything that's kind of helped, if you could just please take 4 minutes and just, type out something in iTunes with a review. If you like the podcast, if you think there's other things that we could do better, I think that would be helpful. All right. So that's kind of my ask kind of portion of this little podcast, right? So again, I'm not asking anything. I don't want money. I don't want any of that. My value or what I'm really getting out of this is kind of psychic income, right? It's knowing that I am helping, that I'm adding value, and I want to just try to do it beyond the podcast and expand, how we can all help each other. So it's not just me sitting on this, up here kind of talking, I don't want to say talking down, but talking at you guys. But that we're all just starting to join in a conversation. And I think that'll make this a lot more fun. And I think we're all going to get a ton more out of it too if we all just, put a little bit of fun and time and effort into what I think could be something really cool. All right. Having said that, I want to get into something that we're doing here that I think will be really interesting because it's been very interesting and eye-opening to me, really over the last 10 months, but especially over the last really 6 weeks since the first of the year. And Expivia has had the opportunity to work with a bunch of 211s. And to be honest, a lot of people don't know what 211s are, right? But 211s are basically their information lines for the states, right? So, for example, LA County in California, they have LA County 211. And if there's they do everything from, suicide prevention to, state information to if there's wildfires, what areas to stay away from the state. There's rolling power outages. How does that work? And people can get information of that. Well, since COVID, 211s have really turned into the sounding board for each state and for COVID information. So we have had the opportunity to work with LA County's 211, the United Way of Connecticut's 211. We are also now in talks with working with Oregon, Iowa, in their 211s as well. And we started this with just COVID information, right? So LA County was our first, and we would just answer COVID questions. Hey, I'm sick. Where can I get tested? Hey, I'm homeless. I don't know where to go to get tested. I think I don't feel good. I feel sick. What are the rules for shutdowns? What are the rules for lockdowns? So started with all that, right? And that was last, April, May-ish. Well, over the last 6 weeks, it's all totally kind of transformed itself into vaccination scheduling. So it's really cool to be able to help so many people, right, to do scheduling people for COVID vaccinations. Now, you might say, why are you doing that? Why can't people just go online and do it? Well, remember, this first round of vaccinations is more elderly people who are older, people that may have something wrong health-wise, right? So not all of them have access to the internet or have the skills to go through a website and to click and to do calendar invites and to kind of do all that, right? So basically, we're that helper, that for anyone that is in an underserviced community that doesn't have the internet, that really needs help. We're the group or one of the groups that people are calling to schedule vaccinations to make sure that people can get these as quickly as possible. It's been an amazing transformation of our work, right? Customer service has always been core to us, but when you're dealing with somebody's financial information or if they have a broken toy that you're calling to send a part out, it's a little bit different than somebody that's saying, hey, I'm really sick. I need to get tested. Where do I go? Or, hey, my mom doesn't know how to schedule this. Can you please help us? I'm not sure how this process works. It takes customer service to a different level, right? And it's awesome when you can actually, when your job, right, when your business is set up to do something to actually really help people from a I don't want to say a life or death standpoint, but some people feel that way, right? And some people, we have a lot of people that cry out of, they're so thankful because they didn't know what to do, right? They didn't know where to go. And we're that calming voice on the other end that is, trying to help them, get them the information that they need, and then get them vaccinated or really get them to a state of mind that they're going to feel comfortable. So, we've done all this within Contact, and to get into the technical aspects of it, In Contact has a lot of the 211. So I think that's why, we've been kind of one of the BPOs that have been a go-to for a lot of the states. The great thing with this is how we're doing it is we're training for 1 week here at Expivia. I mean, we have hundreds of agents now that are doing this, and we're training here at Expivia. We still like to do the training here. We'd like to have them meet the people, get the culture aspect as much as we possibly can in a 1 week period. And then we're giving computers still right now. That may change in the future, but right now everybody gets a computer, they bring it home, and it's all work from home. So the other really cool thing is even for our community here in Erie, because even our work from home is pretty much in the Erie County area, right? So to have us, this little piece of northwestern Pennsylvania have such a national impact on a lot of people, I think has been something we've been very proud of and something that we'll be able to talk about for a really long time. So again, I don't talk a lot about what we do here at Expivia because it's not about us. It's about, you guys and trying to help. But I think that this is something that, I'd like to kind of just give a shout out to my team on for all the work. It's really difficult, as all of you know, in the call center industry, when we're onboarding 20 to 30 to 40 reps a week, sometimes having 2 classes of 40. It stresses a lot of things, right? From an HR standpoint to your training aspect, to attrition, to turnover, and really to try to rethink some of those things on a mass scale. I think, we'll do a podcast of how we did things. And if you ever have to do a mass hiring of call center agents, like you're starting up a new center in XYZ city and you got to get 500 agents in 6 weeks. What should you do? I think that that's a pretty interesting case study and something that we've really never done at that scale. So it's been, I think, something, that we'll maybe next week we'll kind of get into a little bit deeper. But again, pretty interesting. That's why I haven't, we kind of skipped last week's podcast, and I think we haven't done one in almost 2 weeks. So it's just been so crazy, and it's a good crazy. But it was literally really hard to just kind of put my thoughts together down because each podcast takes a couple hours to kind of really think through and do the notes and then actually do the recording because I screw it up like 4 or 5 times, then I have to start over. This is actually the 3rd time I've tried this specific episode. I got to the 8-minute mark and hated it the last time, just FYI. So, all right. So guys, again, to go back to what we talked about, please, 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 after this episode, if you've not done already, head over to the Advice from a Call Center Geek Facebook community. I'm going to have a couple posts there. Please introduce yourself. Post some questions, right? Use it as your sounding board for anything that you'd like to talk to me about, like to talk to other people. All right, we can all help each other, make the contact center a better thing coming here in 2021, make the customer engagement better, make our customer experience better. So again, thank you guys so much. I am blessed to have a following with all of you that have found some value in this. There's obviously interest in it. We're doing something right. So again, I really appreciate all of you. And I promise you, we'll get back on our week-by-week podcast schedule, and I'll talk to you all next week.